Gene, with all the accusations that have come out, the spice, the synthetic marijuana, at the time, we know it wasn't legal. We know the NCAA, or was legal, the NCAA didn't have tests for it, you guys didn't have tests for it. Did you ever think that that was something that would turn into be the story 2 years later, that it was an epidemic or whatever it's called?
Never, Mike. And I think that, you know what, let me tell you something. Again, I'm going to talk about the two young men that are on trial. Basically, with a lot at stake for their life. And if this is the defense, I'm not going to stand here and act like I know what it's like to be in their shoes. And I wish things would have turned out differently for them. I wish that. But you've got those accusations as a defense for people that are on trial, basically, again, for a lot of years involved with their life, whether they go to prison or they don't. And the sad thing that I want to make very clear is you cannot take the you can't take two people's perception of what they think is a huge problem and indict a whole university, coaches, other players. And again, I'm going to go back to facts, because when we started testing, this notion that 50% of our football team was smoking it, let me tell you this is not a performance enhancing drug. Okay, so let's use a little common sense here. It's a performance debilitating drug. So if half of our football team is on it during our 2010 national championship run, how are we performing at a level that was the best football team in the country? That doesn't even make sense. And then let me give you some data. When we did start testing, 10% or less of our team tested positive. Was that too many? Yes. But let's keep in mind, you got, on one hand, the drug is illegal, but on the other hand, they can go into the convenience store and still buy it off the shelf. Try telling that one to your children. And explain to them, oh yeah, it's illegal, but you can go buy it in the convenience store. So we knew there was issues, and we were aggressive in our approach, and we handled it the way we needed to handle it. And I'm very comfortable with the way we should have done it. But I will say this: 10% or less of your football team, at a time when everybody's trying to figure the drug out, because it's widespread, not at Auburn. This wasn't just an Auburn problem. This was a country problem. This was a military. The military's trying to figure it out. The government's trying to figure it out. The NCAA is trying to figure it out. So when we test, and the data, not opinion, the data shows less than 10%. That's a far cry from 50. And then let me give you one other compelling fact. Okay? As we went through the year to figure the drug out, trying to change university policy, which was ongoing at the time, once we changed the university policy, we got the test in place the way it needed to be in terms of detailed and revised. Since they started testing, there's been 2,500 random tests with three individuals positive for the test. So is that an epidemic? Because I'm not even sure what the word epidemic means. But I know this: if there's 2,500 random tests, 3 individuals test positive, would you like it to be 0? You bet. But in my opinion, if you look at the numbers, it's overwhelming evidence that the transition period of us trying to figure out what the drug was, how to get it under control, educate, test for it, I think the facts say that it was pretty effective.
Gene, you spent 27 years coaching continuously, as you mentioned. What have these last 4 months been like, not working?
It's been a time of reflection. I'm not one to dwell on the past and look at all the what ifs and things of that nature, but naturally you reflect. My job is to spend a lot of family time right now, come up with what our next, plan is in terms of, whatever that may be. But I spent a lot of quality time with my children and my wife, which I needed to do, and I still am doing, and I will continue to do. But I've also stayed busy, and I'm in a place right now where, again, I'm just kind of continuing to map out a plan, so to speak.
Because you're still in the community, what have the responses been with fans? Right?
Well, I mean, the people have been very positive, and again, this is a great community, and that's why we chose to stay in it.
Gene, can you talk about ESPN's coverage of this whole thing? Do you think it's been fair and ethical?
I don't want to single out one single entity, but I'm going to say this, Mark. I think it's the responsibility of any news agency or anybody that is going to be able to put something in writing or have something on the radio or put something on TV that could potentially be damaging to universities, groups of people, individuals that are unsubstantiated in nature. It's their responsibility, in my opinion, to do your work before you put out your product. If everybody in journalism was measured 12 times on a Saturday by what they wrote, what they put out, what was on TV, it'd be really interesting to see what their record would be, like coaches are. So I'm not going to point the finger at anybody. I'm only going to address what I think were false and unsubstantiated allegations. And again, I want to point out the fact that what Auburn did and what I'm suggesting is that we do everything based on facts and data, and I think it's undisputed.